Good morning. It's Thursday, November 20th, 2025. My name is Terry Morgan, and we are here to practice and talk about the foundations for Wudang Qigong. I was supposed to be here on Saturday. I wasn't. Didn't happen. And I mention that because I had been talking last week about this idea of quieting the mind and quieting the heart, allowing that quiet to create the opportunity to see clearly. The spirit can be tranquil. When the spirit is tranquil, we can see clearly. That concept, that philosophy, is one of the core philosophies that I learned in studying Wudang Qigong. In my own practice, and this is what we're doing this week, talk a little bit about history. What happens during practice? What are we doing? And I'm going to talk a little bit about how we develop our skills according to the history and the lineage that we have. The idea is that we learn from a teacher, right? And I'm stepping back, so we're going to start stretching. We learn from a teacher. What we learn, how we learn, and the details for how we move come from that teacher. If someone is standing in front of me and I'm watching their movement on a regular basis, I'm looking at the details in each movement, my movements are going to be very similar, should be very similar to whatever I'm looking at, whatever that model is. As I develop my skills, I make those movements mine so that there is a combination of what I learned and what I bring to my own practice to develop what I've learned. Feet about shoulder width apart. Stand straight. Pull up through the crown of the head. Wiggle the toes, wiggle the fingers. Hands circle to the front. And back around to both sides. Up along the center line. Reach out over the legs. Bend the knees. Roll up. Breathe. Nice and easy. Fingertips reach up. Elbows drop down. Wrists. Hands return to your sides. All right. Within just that one little set, my particular ways of moving are clear. If you're following me and you're watching what I'm doing, and then you're doing the exercise with me, you're going to learn my movements. That's what happens. That process is developmental. I talked about this before. It's not a one-time, all of a sudden now it's magical. There may be some times when there is that light bulb that comes on and something that you've been doing resonates. It's all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's what that is. But there is no, I know it, I can do it, I'm good at it. I know it, now I can practice it. And then I can get good at it. That part of history, that part of what we're doing, what I'm doing, In my early studies, I wanted to learn more. I had read about, at that point, I had read about Bagua. I read about Xingyi. I barely knew anything about Tai Chi. I didn't know anything. I didn't. I just started. I had to learn, right? The kinds of things that I looked for, the kinds of things that I wanted to learn, are not entirely what I learned. I had good teachers, and the that's part of the study. That's part of what we need to develop. So I've talked to people over the years. They come to Tai Chi, they want to come to class, they want to learn this particular thing or that particular thing. And sometimes what they want to learn is the art. It's not this one thing, that one thing. I'm curious. I don't know. Those are that's the person that can actually learn something. The one that wants to learn this one thing, that one thing. Um, I want you to teach me all the advanced applications. You haven't studied with me ever. How would you know what advanced and fundamental are? But how do you? Well, you're advanced level teacher, so I want to come to advanced class first. It doesn't work that way. That developmental process, if you're that good, your development is going to go very quickly. It will. If you're missing something in your foundations, it won't. And very often, the idea that I want to start with the advanced stuff gets in the way of actually learning what we want to learn. I did that. I speak from experience in that. It's I want to start with the advanced stuff. I'm good with this. I want to start up here. No, can't do that. It just doesn't work. Footwork, hand, body work, how we move, what we're doing in the movements makes so much more. It matters so much more than this technique or that technique. In Wudang Qigong, we have. I'm going to use pushing the mountain this morning. It's pushing the mountain. Breathe in, breathe out, sink. Oh, no. We're not doing this yet. I want to talk about it for a minute. Push out, pull in, press down. That's the foundation movement. That's the fundamental movement. That's not what we're doing. It's not. The development of the internal workmanship and the circulation of the chi is what we're paying attention to. How I do this movement, the way that I do this move, right? Breathe in, right? Here. That sequence is the orthodox move. I have a checklist I go through. Am I doing this? Am I doing that? Am this? Does this go here? That go there? Absolutely. All of that's well aligned, and yeah, it was okay. I was I'm a little bit distracted because I'm explaining something, but other than that, yeah, it's all right. The movements that I do in this set And all of my movements in Qigong and Bagua and Xingyi and Wudang Tai Chi and Wudang Sword have an element of my teacher's movement in what I'm doing. Someone can see me, and this has happened more than once. Someone sees me moving, sees my teacher moving as a tournament, sees me move, sees him move. There's no question that I've studied with him because the way in which I move is what I learned. I stood, he's standing right here. I'm standing behind him. Whatever he's doing, I'm doing. I'm trying to follow exactly what he's doing with all the nuances, with all the breath work, with everything that I can. Because there's things that he was doing that I couldn't do. Excuse me. This, he had started studying when he was a small child. I did not start studying until I was an adult. Big difference. The art that we're talking about, in this case, Wudang Qigong, and all the other arts that I learned from Professor Liu, come from China. They're part of a long history in Chinese culture. I didn't have that culture. I didn't have that upbringing. I had to learn many things that I have learned give me the understanding that there's so much more that I have not learned. And that's one of the things that is very important in looking at the history, looking at what we do, and looking at how we do it. We each have our own limitations. We each have our own history, our own background, what we can do, what we can't do, what works well, what doesn't. Some movements I favor. I like them. No, there's not so much. That's not true. Same movements, maybe not my teacher's favorite. He has other movements he likes better. Okay, that's part of the history that goes along with. So, you're going to study from me. What's my history? What have I done? I've done a little bit. I have some trophies. I have some things. I've done a little bit. You want to study with me? Great. What's my history? Because if you don't know what that is, if you haven't looked at it, why would you want to study with me in the first place? If you did look at my history, you say, oh, well, yeah, first place, 3-time national, international champion. Yeah, maybe she does know something. Right? What's my history? I studied in China. That makes every movement that I do just a little bit different. Because the ways in which I move come from my experience in China. The distinguishing features of my movements, the extent of the movement, the ways in which I approach how to move are not based on something that I learned locally. I I did learn it locally, but it was local to China. It was local to Zhengzhou. That difference. Someone here studying with me, they're learning locally, but they're learning from me. And what did I learn? I learned from a teacher in China, actually, a rather important teacher in China. And that history informs everything I do. If I had not wanted to learn, I would not have been getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to be at the park before 6 in January. It was cold. It was cold. It was chilly. That experience informs everything I do. Someone else's experience will be different. Their experience informs what they do. But if they're learning from me, part of my experience and what I've learned will be part of whatever that other person is doing. Pushing the mountain. I'm going to pay attention to the upper body and the hands on this side for just a second and talk about it. And then I'm going to pay attention to the legs, and then we're going to work on it. So feet a little bit wider than shoulder width. Palms come up, breathe in. Level with the chest. As we push out, sink, and I'm doing this really slow. Sink. Set the hip a little behind. So don't set it here. Set it back here. So that you can actually sink down. Both hands push out as if you're pushing against the wall, pushing against something, right? Push. As we straighten, the hands turn over, pull back on the middle finger just a little bit. It's not like this, just a little. So that you feel the line come along both hands, both arms, pull in, and press down. And breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Each time, we're paying attention to several things. First, the position of the back, opening all three gates in the back. The lower gate, the Ming Men, the gate between the shoulder blades, the Jiaji, and the gate at the base of the skull, the Yujin, the jade pillow. As we bend, open the hip. Otherwise, you won't. It don't work. Okay. The idea that, and I gotta loosen up my knees for a second, because I am gonna try and do this. And this is something that is part of this distinction and the history and how we move and what we do in the movements. All right. In most of what I was learning at the time that I was learning, it was very common. May still be in some places, that people wouldn't sit on the chair. You might not want to sit on that bench. All right. And one of the exercises that I very first learned was a lowering exercise. And we do this in Wudang Qigong with the set 3, um, and set 4, the lowering and rising in the uh, uh, here, right? Wild goose flying. That lowering and rising, it goes further. It does. Okay. And down again. I'm leaning very far forward to get down that far. All right. You can see it. I can feel it. The ability to keep my torso fully upright as I sink down is not something I've been working on. I've been working on loosening up the hips and my knees, but I haven't been working on that. Not at that level. I will. I will be. There are several sets that require should, let me say should, be done with that full extension. Leaving it out. Leaving it out. Breathe in, breathe out. Right? This is fine. It's perfectly fine as part of what we're doing in Qigong practice. But it doesn't have the full extent of the movement. And that is something that we see repeatedly in distinguishing, I've seen repeatedly, put it that way. If I'm looking at someone who has trained in China, if I or in yeah, no, I'm gonna say with China. Someone who's trained in China that understands the level of training that's expected. It's not the same as something here. I will see that in their movement. If I'm looking at someone who has not, they may have good skills, but the level is different. I've talked about this before with the idea that if and I'm using basketball, the high school league is not the same as the NBA. It's not. There may be players in the high school league who will eventually end up in the NBA. That could happen. But the level it's expected, the level of play, the level of skill that's expected at the high school league level is not the same as what's expected at the level of the NBA. It's not. That's an easy to understand distinction, I think, I hope, that we look at martial arts in a very similar way when we look at the history. Who is this person? Who is their teacher? What did they learn? What did their teacher learn? What did their teacher teach? Where did they come from? And how did they learn? What was the level? What was the expectation? Some things that I do today, I don't pay as much attention to as I did 20 years ago. I don't. Some things I do today, I pay more attention to than I did 20 years ago. The foundations are what give us the ability to develop the skill to do the advanced work. If we don't have the foundations, nothing else will follow. That concept governs my practice. It's governed everything that I've learned. What is this? What are we talking about? If I had learned Wudang Qigong from one of my Kung Fu brothers, if I had not learned it from Professor Liu, the Grandmaster, I had learned from someone else. He could have done that. I showed up and he could have said, hey, why don't you teach her? I could have learned from someone else. Then I would have that person's movements. I didn't. I studied with him. The same in Yang style Tai Chi. My movements tend to reflect those of Huang Wei Lun, who is the person that I studied the longest with. I've got some part of what Yang Zhendo taught, but I didn't spend time with him. So I learned in a seminar. My quality of movement comes from Huang Wei Lun, not from Yang Zhendo. Most of the quality of my movement now comes from Liu Zhang. Feet a little bit wider than shoulder width. Turn the toes out just a little bit. Make sure that your knees can go out over your toes. Open the hips. Pushing the mountain. And we're going to work low. Keep the back straight. Pull up through the center. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Pull up through the center. Pull up through the Huiyin at the base of the torso. Hold through the upper back. Pull up from under the chest. Pull up from under the ribs. Breathe. Breathe in. Breathe out. Push. 2 more. Actually push. You do want to think about that as you're pushing. It's not just, throw the arms out there and see what you can do. All right, so push and pull in. Hands down on both sides. Pull up through the crown of the head. Raise the heels and lower. Stay there. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. You should feel it. I'm going to just one time this way because I want to check my back. I think it was okay. All right, the first time is breathe in, not so great. The push is maybe okay. I have to go back and look at it because I can't see it from over there. That is practice. Pay attention to what I'm doing. Pay attention to the movement. Pay attention to what I learned. Not only what I've practiced regularly, but also what I've learned and how I've developed that practice. Today, I wanted to focus on the full extent of the movement. What is my current, what is my current level? Where am I? I could be more stable. I could have, there's probably some leaning that I did. I need to be more straight. I need to straighten the body. And that up and down, go all the way down. What I never did that really well, but I did it a whole lot better than what I did today. That is something that we want to pay attention to in how we move, the history that we have, and what we expect from what it is we're doing. What's the expectation? I had to beat on this for just a second, and then then I'm gonna wrap up. Excuse me. All right. This is Yang style Tai Chi. Yeah, no, I'm not. I just pay attention to the movement. All right. That last part with push, that is push, actually. And it's better if you practice this Wudang Qigong set. It is. That sequence, mostly orthodox, it was okay. It wasn't the full extent of the movement. It wasn't the level that we practiced. You get the idea. My foot got stuck. Okay. It needs to move smoothly and with purpose, nicely placed, quiet. Wudang Tai Chi. Right? Similar, not so similar. No, not the same, right? Not the same. And the way I'm moving, the dynamic in my movement is not the same either. What I did from Wudang Tai Chi does not belong in Yang style Tai Chi. There's part of it, yeah, we can fudge on some things, but no, the movement should not be done the same way. Wudang Tai Chi has a dynamic to it that is different than what Yang style has. It's different than what Chen style has, and I've gone through the litany more than once. The development of the art, the development of the artist. Who's practicing? You're practicing. What are you doing? I'm doing some movement that I learned from. What are you doing? What are you doing? Where does it come from? What do you benefit? How do you develop your skill so that you benefit from what you're doing? You're going to practice something, and the idea is that you want to get better at it. Why do you want to get better at it? What are you doing? Maybe it's just curious. I want to know. That's fine. I want to go. That's why we have explorers. I want to go. I'm curious. I want to learn. It's fine. It's actually really good. Why you want to learn what you're doing in your practice, who you learn from, how you learn, the environment, the surroundings, where you learn, what you have to do to get there, all affect what you come away with. That art that you come away with is part what you learned, part what your teacher learned, part what your teacher gave you, and part what you bring to the art. That wanting to learn, that I want to see what is this? Can I do that? I could do that'd be great. That curiosity will carry through so many layers of study and practice. It's fundamental. Thank you for being curious. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow. Bye.